So in question number 1, where they're asking you to identify where point S is, since point S is in this bottom right corner, that means it's in quadrant 4, and that's all they're asking you to identify here. In part B, where they're asking you about the point marked T, that's in this upper right corner, so that's quadrant 1. Now, point W, that's one they're trying to trick you with a little bit here. As far as point W goes, point W is not in either one of these quadrants. Point W is on the y-axis, actually, and that's really the proper answer here. It lies on the y-axis. If you want to say where it's between, it's exactly between quadrants 1 and quadrant 3. Any point that's north of the x-axis on the y-axis will be between quadrants 1 and 2. So whether it's here, or here, or here, or here, that descriptor would then be accurate. All right, so we've talked about just identifying where a point is. Now let's get more into identifying what a point actually is as opposed to just where it is. So here what they're going to have us do first is they're going to have us plot points on the coordinate plane. And the first point they're asking us to plot is 3, 3. Well, ordered pairs are always written in order of x, y, all the time. The first number tells you where it's going to match up with on the x-axis. The second number tells you where it's going to match up with on the y-axis. So, as we look at this first question here, 3, 3, we're going to identify where 3 is on the x-axis, that's right here. And we're going to identify where 3 is on the y-axis, that's right here. Now what you want to do then to locate where point D is going to be is you want to go ahead and put your fingers on those 2 points and pull them together. And as I pull them together, my fingers land here where point D was already conveniently drawn. And that's where point D is going to be located in this upper right quadrant. What did we do very specifically? Well, since the first number there represents where it is on the x-axis from the origin, which is where we'll always start, I went right 3 units. And then since the second number is also 3, which represents where it's on the y-axis, I went up 3 units. And that's also another way to say where I landed at point D. If the first number was negative, instead we would move left. If the second number was negative, instead we would move down. Let's try B. -2, -3. So if we're working with -2, -3, that means I'm going to go to -2 on the x-axis, because again, the first number always represents where it is on the x-axis, the one that runs left to right. And the second number there is -3. So I'm going to mark off where -3 is on the y-axis. And again, I'm just going to pull my fingers together to where those meet, and that happens to be the point right here, marked E. Another way to say that is starting at the origin, which is again where the crossbars are. I went 2 units to the left since the first number was negative, and then I went 3 units down since the second number was negative. And that's how I land here at point E. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the next question now. In the next question, what they're doing instead is they're going to give me the point that's already on the coordinate grid, and you're supposed to now identify the coordinates. So again, we're going to do just like we did just a minute ago. I'm going to have to say where it is in terms of the x-axis, and then say where it is in terms of the y-axis. Again, points are always written with the x-coordinate first, where it matches up with on the x-axis, and then the y number second, where it matches up with on the y-axis. So if we're talking about point X, which indeed we are, point X, this one up here, matches up with -2 on the x-axis. We can go straight up from -2 to get there. And it matches up with this number right here on the y-axis, which is 5, 1 above 4. And so the coordinate here that represents point X is going to be -2, 5. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at the check it out examples here. Number 1, they're asking you to identify the quadrant that contains the point. Where is point X? Well, point X, as you can see, is in this lower right box here. Remember, this is the primary quadrant, this upper right one. That's called quadrant 1. And then your numbers go counterclockwise. So this is 2, this is 3, and this is 4. Since point X is in this lower left box, that means it's in quadrant 3. In number 2, they're asking me to plot the point -2, 3. So again, the point -2, 3 means that point is going to have an x-axis representation of -2. Well, there's -2 on my x-axis. And it's going to have a y-axis representation of 3. And there's 3. Again, it's always x first and then y second. That's always the way they write points. So I don't have to guess which one they're doing first. It's always x first and then y second. Well, I pull my fingers together to where those meet, and I land here at the point marked E. Another way to say that is I went 2 to the left from the origin, and then I went 3 up. And that would be another way of graphing -2, 3. Finally, the last one, giving the coordinates of the point marked L. So point L, in terms of the x-axis, is out here at -4. As you can see, it's on that -4 line, so the x-coordinate is going to be -4. And in terms of the y-axis, it's here matching up with 3. So the y-coordinate number is going to be 3. And that means the coordinates of point L are -4, 3.